Welcome back. Great scenes at the Sydney Cricket Ground on Saturday night after a record-breaking win. The Saints linking arms, going over to their supporters, and they had plenty of them. It was great being there, wasn't it?
I tell you, Bruce, all those seats were filled about 20 minutes early. Most of the Sydney people left fairly early, I can tell you.
Stan, welcome.
Thank you, Bruce.
Congratulations, firstly. 101 points, not to be sneezed at. I mean, you've got this incredible record now in Sydney. Did you pinch yourself halfway through the game and think to yourself, this is too good to be true?
I don't know if they were the thoughts that come through, but I was of the opinion that they were going to come back, and probably it was role playing within my mind. If they come back, who will be the blokes who'll turn it for, and what will be my counter moves? And I guess I was waiting for that all night.
Sorry, I was going to say, West Coast coming back the night before, did that sort of freshen you up?
Well, it certainly went through my mind, and I was just hoping that my players weren't thinking that way.
Stan, what does a coach say to his players when his team's 15 goals up at three-quarter time? I mean, do you have to sort of set new targets for them, or how do you kid them into sort of...
No, we don't have to set new targets or kid them. I mean, look, you would see that we have a pretty standard procedure in our guys going to groups, and they've got set things that they work on religiously, work in, work out with a member of the match committee, and they come in and they just assess those, and that really becomes the key, because I think what we're trying to do is stop the emotion that can be either negative or positive influencing what you need to do. And if we want to pride ourselves on being a good side, we've got to become consistent, and that's not just week in, week out. It is quarter by quarter stuff.
Stan, with a margin like that, do you get a view of you guys who are just so over the top good, or the other mob were just very bad? I mean, do you sort of get a feeling of either which of those? Or
I can tell you the most... The most emotion or feeling that I had like that was, God, we were like this when we played Essendon in round 2. Yeah. That's really what kept coming back to me.
And from that, Stan, and you too, Lee, how does a coach, I wonder how Rodney Eade reacted. I mean, how do you react when you have this humiliating loss, this loss that's inexplicable almost?
At home, too. I reckon it's like the Swans getting beaten in Sydney like that. You got beaten by Essendon at the MCG.
Yeah.
I guess Waverley's a bit... But if it's like the suburban ground, like Collingwood with Fremantle at Victoria Park, or Sydney in Sydney, I think that a demolition on your home turf stings even more, I suspect.
Well, I suppose it does, but I mean, I can't speak on behalf of Rodney, but I know that our reaction was that we had a meeting, and it's probably 5 minutes into that meeting we decided not to have the meeting.
After the Bombers.
Yeah, after the Bombers, because we said it was just too bad, it was too uncharacteristic, nothing will be learned, nothing positive can come out of it. Now let's just talk about what we need to do.
Do you have set strategies after the match when you have a big win? I noticed that Nicky Winmar had a strategy with you on Saturday night. You tried to get away, Stan, because you knew you were going to get wet.
Bit of water here.
You watch this, everybody. Stan, look, Nicky's got you.
Look, I can tell you, I come in there and I was pretty excited, and I wanted to be part of the guys, and then I saw Harvey with water, and I thought, gosh, we've got a few functions to go to. We're interstate. I haven't bought another change of clothes. I can't stand it. And as I'm going out, the Winmar said, I've got you.
Do you read Patrick Smith?
No, I haven't read Patrick.
He said you did a very good job as a pogo stick.
Yeah, I would have loved to have got out of it, I'll tell you that much.
Now, Stan, that's 7 from 7 in the 90s at the SCG for St Kilda, and I heard you on radio yesterday say that you told your players in the lead-up there were certain no-go areas at the SCG. Tell us a bit about where they might be.
Did I open my mouth on that?
You did, actually, yeah. Someone's always listening, Stan.
King's Cross.
Well, I think the obvious one that I'm sure you'd all know is that when you bring the ball into the forward line, it's a pretty standard procedure with most clubs to go to an area in front of the goals and things like that. But in my opinion, the Sydney boys, their backs will actually play quite well off their opponents, and they'll come in to crowd that gap. And you've got to avoid the temptation of doing what you do at other grounds and don't do it at Sydney. And so it was very important that we honoured the loose man, and we even in the heat of battle, that we were strong enough to look for targets out the side of our eyes rather than just blast away, because that's where they'll go. And not only do they win the ball there, but with the likes of Roos and even an O'Loughlin coming down and that, they will get numbers there and they'll bring it out and they'll hurt you, because if you've come in this side and you go to the spot that we would all like to go to, they'll just come and hurt you and come back the other way, and they're such a terrific side at bringing it out. So we just had to sort of discipline ourselves, and that became a no-go area.
Look, we've looked at the top 7 clubs in their last 30 matches, and some of them go back. It depends on how many finals they played last year. Now, admittedly, we've done this, and it does bring you up in a very good light, because when you started to make your run last year, West Coast have won 15 of their last 30. In fact, their last 3, North Melbourne 18. This is from about round 4, 5 or 6 last year. Geelong, Sydney the same. the Bulldogs 20, the Crows who won 4 finals, and look at the Saints, 23. So for a year and a half, really, on those figures, you've been quite clearly the most consistent and the best side in the competition.
Yeah, look, if you'd taken the 30 before, you'd know the reason why it means a fair bit to us. I mean, that, and I say that flippantly, but it's something that we've eaten humble pie for so long. We don't want to be just Johnny-come-latelys and up and then just fade away.
Stan, you mentioned how to play the SCG in a perverse way with Lowy not being available and therefore not having the main marking target up there. Did it make it in some ways easier just to go to the best target rather than the predetermined one they normally go to?
Yeah, we wouldn't have played Lowy at centre-half forward if he'd played Lee for that reason. But yeah, I mean, we just had to play a different brand of footy.
Everett's ruck work, I mean, Stafford just didn't look right, taking nothing away from Everett, and Sirakovsky also did good. But Lee, some of these tap-outs were absolutely perfection, weren't they?
I got to say, I've always thought ruck hit-outs is probably the most useless stat in football unless they go somewhere. That's spoken like a little guy, I suppose, Stan. But I thought Everett's ability to give the ball to his ground-level players in the centre square and enable them to make. Have a look at this little flip over the back. These clearances was one of the more dominating palming exhibitions I've seen from a ruckman. I thought he was just fantastic. He sort of, I guess, has spoken about putting himself on the line. He's dyed his hair bleached and all that kind of stuff. But he it seems to relish it. Whatever, if it's putting more pressure on himself, he's relishing it, and his performances are increasing.
He's one of those unique characters from that point of view. I mean, I've stated this to him many times. A lot of little things he does, and that probably as a coach, and you try and look at the overall team that you just wouldn't like your players to be doing, but he does those things because he has the ability to still retain his focus on what's required. So, but it's a credit to him and our ruck coach. I mean, Peter Keenan's work with him, and I mean, they come down at about 3 o'clock during the day and just work on specific things, and then he calls the shots with our on-ballers. And it's actually an interesting thing. We've changed a little bit of the culture there that, we probably didn't have great ruckman, and the setups and everything used to be called by our ground level players, and now Peter's the man who calls the shots.
I was interested particularly because Robert Harvey's so often his target at ground level that John Stevens, who was Harvey's tagger, was starting outside the centre square. Let's have a look at this. We've got Stevens there, number 20, on the wing. Harvey, of course, in the centre square. Now, Stevens is going to pick him up once the bounce is completed, but I was pretty surprised, in fact, for all the games Stevens come from the wing, why he didn't run from the back of the centre square, because this kind of play where Harvey running forward through the front of the centre square, gee, I reckon it must have happened 6 or 8 times. And hard for you to say that, I guess, Stan, but it just seemed to me, Graham Corns and Bruce, we were doing the commentary, and it just seemed like it was made it even more difficult for Stevens to get within arm's length of Harvey.
Well, Robert was hot, and and we said, Spider was winning the tap. So, to be quite honest, my concern was who was running out of the square, because with Stevens going and coming off the wing, my concern, and you can imagine, who was dropping back and were my backmen getting sucked in and losing the sight of him. So I mean that was more of our concern, and I suppose it's probably because of that it wasn't as great an appreciation of the work Harvey and those blokes were doing until we were well into the game.
Stan, fair to say, is it that Robert Harvey's first half this year has been better than his first half in the Brownlow year?
Yes, and that's allowing for the fact that he started a little bit slow, and then he had the broken ribs and had those problems. But I think he's playing better football by far. I mean, I think his use of the ball is much better than last year, and actually even from the way we measured, I mean, his defensive aspect of his game and other little things are much better than he was doing previously.
You spoke a moment ago about Peter Everett doing maybe a couple of things that you think maybe aren't absolutely right. Barry Hall and Peter had a bit of fun late in the game where they showed the ball to the opposition. It was a bit cheeky. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Oh, look, I'm not a big fan of that. I mean, our season goes longer than one week, and I'm a bit of a believer that from two things. Firstly, you don't want to give ammunition, but also at this level, I like to think that you respect your opposition. And
continue to see Barry Hall at centre half back. It was his first go at senior level, and
yeah, look, we've been sort of toying with the idea for a while, and I suppose the thing that led us to play him there was that the Swans have a tall forward line and make up, and we felt that Darryl could do pretty well on Tony, and and that just gave us the opportunity to slip him in there, and certainly he played very, very well for us. I think he's got a bit to go in terms of playing on the smarter people. He'll learn that. But we were pleased with with the fact that he was able to pick up possessions and gave us some good attack and run out of the back line.
And Peter Everett with twirling the ball, is that just not... Can you categorise that as flair and that's his personality and he's expressing himself? Playing the football he's playing. I mean, the previous week he saluted the umpire. He just seems to be able to do a couple of those things and not lose his focus.
I think there's a fine line. I mean, that's what I'm getting at. If it gets to the stage where it becomes something that people expect of you and you start to do it and play up, because, I mean... We coaches, I mean, we're a pretty demanding lot, and sometimes we go over the top. And conservative. And I understand that. But it's not so much the conservatives. My fact is, while you're spinning the ball, what if you missed a bloke who was free and you could have kicked it to him? I mean, that's the sort of thing that we think about. And I, you know, so I mean, you know, I don't want to discourage my players out there doing things if they're enjoying it. But again, we've got to understand it is a team game, and we're looking to do the maximum in that area.
Speaking of Everett, he was a weekly winner in the Norwich Rising Star Award in 1993. Now, we have a facts situation every week, AAPT Smart Chat, Stan, and people send us in all sorts of things, and most of them are fascinating, actually. And Kay Mikor has sent to us a photograph of the Rising Stars in 1993, Everett being one of this group. And when we go through them, this was an absolutely vintage year. You can see at the back you've got Colbert, Chapman, Fletcher, Neats, and just down in front of them, Rasciuto and Buckley. This group, Everett's two from the left at the back with Grigic, Richardson, Rocker. Yeah, he has a look at the spider. Two from the back at the left, and Matthew Richardson, Grigic, and Rocker with himself. Like Scotty West surrounded by
Oliver Henshaw on the left, I think.
and Masidi, and Joe Masidi.
Right, yeah.
I mean, we're talking about stellar players. Shane Crawford in the centre there. Glenn Archer, and then and Cow, young Cow. I say young,
yeah.
Buckley, Rasciuto, Mercury. Handy, aren't they? This is all from 1993.
What was this Chinese year of the what? We better find out.
Chinese year of the very good, Chinese year of the very good players. So thank you for all of that. A very, very fair club. Just quickly, Aussie Jones. Mike wrote an article, what might have been a week ago.
No, Mike and Sam wrote the article
2 weeks.
together.
No, I rang the coach and asked him questions.
No, seriously, and you expressed some views in that article that Aussie had a bit of maybe growing up to do, maturing to do, that he had to get his head back and had to concentrate. I mean,
let me say a couple of things. No, I didn't say that at all.
Okay.
What I said emphatically was that the boy who has become a great player against a lot of adversity because of a lot of hard work. He's got terrific natural talent, but he's worked very, very hard. And if you're at the club, you have seen how hard he worked on and off the track. And as a result, All-Australian player, fantastic final series, and an outstanding prospect. With that went a lot of the trappings, the recognition and the opportunities to go into areas like media, which I'm absolutely thrilled for him. And I don't ask him to cut back on that in any way. But what I said was that I had a concern that he now wasn't doing the things that made him a good footballer. His intensity at training that dropped off. And what he had to do was come back and knuckle down and do those things, because if his footy dropped away, so would all the other
why
things.
through that forum, Stan? Why through the forum of a newspaper?
Because of the fact that we'd spoken to him about that. And we just wanted him to understand that this was part of the deal, and we wanted to acknowledge it, and we wanted to bring it to his attention in the best possible way. So I mean, it was something we thought that was worthwhile doing, because I mean, he's an outstanding talent. And what I can't have is a situation where he drops away completely and we've got to resurrect him. He's not playing great football at the moment, but he's playing pretty good.
So did it work?
Oh, look, he really is knuckling down, and
no bad blood.
No, none at all. I mean, look, having said, you know, the fact that what people might understand is that the relationship we've got amongst myself and the players is that he knew the article was going to come in, the players all knew. So, I mean, this was nothing done behind anybody's back in any way. So there's not a problem. Sure, it's hurt him. I mean, sure, it stung him, and I understand that. But I just have the belief that down the track he'll be better for it and he'll understand.
Fair enough.